Good morning and welcome to another week of ballet. So we have some more ballet tips for you, and this week I'm going to be focusing on elevation and soft landings, basically jumping and landing in a, should we say, controlled manner, so you don't collapse, you don't land with a big thud and you don't injure yourself. So jumps are like the most spectacular part of dancing. Yes, you can do beautiful adage, you can have beautiful line, which is all fabulous, but when you see an amazing jumper fly through the air and literally they appear to go up and suspend and do whatever they do up there and then land with grace and silence, it's really quite phenomenal. And obviously we all want to be able to jump like that, and some people naturally have an ability to jump, others find it harder, and a lot of it is actually psychological. It's how you think in your head about the jump, and also about how you use your muscles, not necessarily how strong they are. And it's got nothing to do with size as well. It's literally to do with the way you use your muscles, okay? So scrap any preconceived ideas you may have that may be limiting your jumps if you're someone who has difficulty jumping, and maybe just try one or two of these little tips. They might help you. So first of all, I'm going to look at the mechanics, okay? So the mechanic of a jump is obviously you have to go up in the air. And in order to go up in the air, you have to have some kind of push against something to push you up there. So it's just plain physics. A lot of dancing is actually physics. If you're into science, that's quite a cool thing. So in order to get off the floor, you have to bend your knees. Yes, you have to bend your knees so then your legs can then push you off the floor. Okay, and you'd think it would end there, but it doesn't. Sorry. So you've got to have the bend in your knees, and that doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't have a long Achilles, sometimes our Achilles tendon here, sometimes it can be quite short and can actually quite limit the amount you can bend your knees. And I know some dancers who have very limited Achilles tendons, but actually have quite spectacular jumps. So again, scrap your ideas about what your physicality and whether your physicality is affecting your jumps. So yes, try and improve your pliés, get those pliés lovely and as deep as you can get them, okay? But we also need elasticity in those pliés. So you want this sense of resistance. You want a feeling of push and stretch. So it goes bend, push and stretch to get you off the floor. And to get that, you need to think of this in every single exercise you do at the bar, because every single exercise you do at the bar is preparing you for something in the center. So the first exercise we do is our pliés, which means bend. So you're bending your knees and stretching your knees, but you're not just going bend, stretch, bend, stretch. You're going squeeze and stretch. You're creating resistance as you do that. Now, some people can do that by imagining that they're basically got a rubber band around their legs, they're pushing that rubber band away, and then as they're destroying their legs, they're squeezing maybe a ball between their knees. So you can use imagery in your head to create the kind of movement, or you can think about it in a purely mechanical way. Basically, you have two muscle groups. Well, you've got a lot, but in this, you're using two particular muscle groups. So, for example, if I bend and stretch my arm, if I just do it like that, it's quite sort of brittle almost. It's not going to have a lot of push. Whereas if I think of resisting as I come in and then resisting as I go out, I'm actually working both muscle groups at the same time. So you've got your muscle group here that pulls the knee bent, and then this muscle group pulls your triceps and your biceps basically. The triceps then pull your arms straight. And you can do the same with your legs. As you do a plie, I'll just move over here so you can see a bit better. As I do a plie, I think of pushing out and then really resisting as I pull in again, and that really helps with creating that elasticity of movement. It's not necessarily about having really bendy knees, it's about that bounce and spring in your plie, in your bend, that can push you off the floor. The strength you need is to get that movement from there to there really quickly and really strongly, enough to push you off the floor. And to help with that as well, you need lovely, strong, stretched feet. Yeah, as you bend, say this is my foot, as I bend onto the floor, I'm going to push away. Imagine if you're pushing someone on a swing, you'd bend your arms, then you'd push, and your fingers would reach towards that person, and then you catch them again, and then you go push and catch. That's what you're doing when you're jumping in the air. You're pushing the floor away, and you do need to let your heels touch the floor and get properly into that plie, and then push those feet absolutely as stretch as they possibly can, because that's the final frontier in you getting off the floor. So those are the mechanics of it. I'm trying to think, oh yes, I forgot my arms. So you don't want your arms to detract from it, yes? And naturally our arms will try and do that to get us off the floor. But it doesn't look that brilliant classically, does it really? So either you're holding your arms nice and strong, not rigid, but strong. Think of pulling your shoulder blades down and holding your core so that your arms are kind of held in your back. So they kind of stay still as you're jumping. Or they're moving with you to lift you in the air, especially on the big jumps. They go up with you. So you get used to really having your arms anticipate the movement so they almost pull you up. So if you go whee and your arms are actually getting there a millisecond before you get up there to actually help lift you off the floor. So that coordination will really help with you getting off the floor. So we've gone through a few things. We've gone through the bend in your knee. We've gone through the elasticity of that bend, the pushing of your feet and stretching those legs and stretching your knees to push you right off the floor and coordinating those arms with it. That's part one. So much to think about. Part two is the landing, because once you get up there, you want to land safely. You don't want to collapse in a pile on the floor. You don't want to go over on your ankle and hurt yourself. So we use our body as a shock absorber. Here you go. I've angled the camera down so you can see my feet better. So but imagine I've gone off the floor, I've jumped, and as I come into land, my toe touches the floor first, then the ball of my foot, then the heel, then I bend my knee, but this stays really strong. So that is my natural shock absorber to help me land softly and safely so I'm not going to injure myself. So the things you need to think about. So number one, you've pointed your toes. If you haven't pointed your toes, you tend to land with your heel first, which again is going to jar up your body. Think of landing toe first, then rolling through your foot. And your heel must land, yes? Otherwise you're going to injure yourself again and you'll get shin splints up the front of your legs, which is not fun. Heel lands, and as soon as your heel lands, your knee bends to create that softness so that you don't injure your hips and hurt your back, okay? If it's just one jump, that's fine. If it's a sequence of jumps, you then have to rebound. So you have to think of the rebound effect. So you've got your shock absorber to land, and then if you're coming into another jump, you go down, up, bounce, bounce. So you get this bounce effect, which is really, really helpful if you've got a whole series of jumps. There's a really famous scene in Giselle in Act 2, and oh my gosh, she does this whole series of little jumps, and it's spectacular. And she seems to even get higher and higher and higher as she goes through those series of jumps. And that's the effect you want. You want that rebound effect. Also, you don't want to collapse. Yeah, so you have to keep your core and your back really held. Think of pulling your belly button in toward your lower spine, and that will help keep that nice and contained so that when you do land, your body stays upright. Okay, so for our landings, we're thinking of using our natural shock absorbers, going through our feet and making sure our heels touch the floor and that we bend our knees and holding our core so that we don't collapse over our body as we land. Finally, we have the section on not mind over matter, but things that are actually not to do with dance specifically that will really help you. The musicality bit might be, you could say that's to do with dance, but a couple of things that actually anyone can do and it will help your jumps. Okay, so the first thing is eye line. Yeah, if I'm jumping and I look down, if I do a leap and I look at the floor, I'm not going to look like I'm going very high. I'm going to look a bit like, it's got that downward feel to it, and it's not going to give me much sense of elevation. But if I look up above my eye line, I'm going to look like I'm going higher, even if I'm not actually going higher. And it actually does help you, because again, you're lifting your whole body up. It helps you go up higher. So that's eye line, look up. You can look down on the preparation to look up again, but be careful not to anticipate that too quickly, because otherwise you get that and you're looking down to land, which looks like you're looking for the floor. The floor's not going anywhere. It will always be there, okay? Unless you're on a cruise ship, it might go up and down, but they usually cancel the show if it's that bad. Anyway, I digress. So yes, eye line, look up and the jump, so you're up at the peak of that jump, keep looking up for your landing, and if you then have another little preparation step, so if you could have, for example, leap, run, run and leap, yeah, on those little run runs you can cast your eyes down a little bit to exaggerate the look up on the leap. Okay, so that's my first one. The second one, again, nothing to do with dancing, is breathing. So often we forget to breathe. If you're doing a sequence of lots of little jumps, that kind of rhythm, you're not going to want to breathe in on every single jump. Otherwise, you're going to hyperventilate and keel over. But at the same time, you really, really don't want to hold your breath for the whole sequence. So breathe through those jumps. So you might think in and out, out, in and out, out. Yeah, so breathe rhythmically to help you, but breathe through the jumps. It's a bit like jogging. Yes, once you get your pace of breathing right for your jogging, you can keep going forever. So that's that one. So think about the breathing for little jumps. On big jumps, you're going to breathe in a massive breath in on every big jump. Yes, you think, and big breath in, and that's going to help you get off the floor. Okay, combine that with the looking up, and those two things alone will improve your leaps so much. Okay, and just try it. Don't be embarrassed if people hear you breathe. It doesn't matter. We all have to breathe. And people who know about dancing know that breathing is really important. And then another magical thing that happens when you breathe with your dancing is you suddenly get this beautiful light and shade in your movement, because actually we can apply the breathing to arms and everything. So if you breathe in as your arms go up and out as they come down, and it adds this beautiful musicality and light and shade to your movements. So don't be embarrassed about breathing with the movements, and don't be embarrassed about the breath actually being audible if it helps you remember to do it. So we've got the eye line, looking up, we've got the breath in, and finally, but actually most importantly of all with all dance, to be honest, but jumps in particular, is musicality. Okay, you've got to absolutely stick with the music, even if you feel it's too slow or too fast for you. If you try and kind of go off the music because it's better for your body, it's a nightmare. You lose the momentum, everything. The music gives you the momentum to get off the floor. If it's a big jump, it goes da 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 ba da. Yeah, it's called. For big jumps, you want to use a thing called rubato. You're actually robbing a bit of music from the preparation and adding it to the jump. So you're still jumping in time with music, but instead of going step, leap, step, leap, step, or say step, step, leap, step, step, leap even, you're going step, step, and up, step, step, and you're going up almost on the end of that last beat of the step. Yeah, so you take a little bit of the music from your preparation, making the preparation quite small and bouncy to give you the rebound effect to get off the floor and spend more time in the air. And then if you use that breath, you get that suspension in midair. And if you look up, it helps even more. So those are my points. It's actually, I think, about 10 points in the end. I've got my notes down here. It's actually 10 points in the end that help you with your jumps. If you just try one of those this week, just try one of them, you'll be amazed. Yeah, that's if you've not been doing it before. If you're doing some of them already, amazing. Just think of them a little bit more and focus on them a little bit more this week. Yeah, so I've powered through that one. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Take care, enjoy dancing.